I'd like to call the Township North Huntington Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Wednesday, August 17th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Roll call, Manager Falk.
Commissioner Stump,
Here.
Commissioner Atwood,
Here.
Commissioner Gray,
Here.
Commissioner Zona,
Here.
Commissioner Wingren,
Here.
Commissioner Gauss,
Here.
President Hagus.
Here, could everyone please stand and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and opening prayer by Pastor Puel?
Please bow your heads. Lord, we thank you so much for the resources that you bless this township with. Thank you for the leadership, wisdom around these tables. We pray you would guide and direct them. Lord, the blessings that they've been poured out upon them would be blessings that we can use to better our community and our region. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. If any residents would like to speak tonight, if you could sign the book at the podium, please. We did also have one resident request to call in. We'll let her speak first. Jonathan, if she's set up, I believe it's Melissa. If you could just state your name and address for the record, please.
Hey, Melissa, we have you here. Can you go ahead and state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name's Melissa Caravan. My address is 1417 Willow Heights Drive, North Huntington.
All right, Melissa, you could speak and no.
Okay. I was trying to see if it's available on YouTube, the meeting. Is it available?
Yeah, it should be streamed live on YouTube, and if it cuts out, you could always go back and rewatch it at a later date.
Okay, yeah, I see it now. All right, I just wanted to talk about the justification that was provided by the township commissioners for the decision not to waive the roof inspection for the Norwin School District. I'm a mother of 4 children that are in the school district. I've been an active participant for the last 17 years. I'm a 1996 graduate of Norwin High School, a resident for 44 years. I'm a disabled taxpayer and a former government employee and just a concerned citizen. I heard the decision and the justification that was given to deny that request, and I guess I don't understand the arguments that were provided for why that fee was not waived for the school district. And I have some points I just wanted to bring up about the justification that was provided.
Right. You can
I'm sorry, did somebody say
yeah,
something?
you can keep going, Melissa.
Okay. So it was listed as a $15,755 building permit fee that would be needed, that the district's facing $1 million in needed roof repairs for the Hillcrest Intermediate School. And one point that was made was that the school is overspending. But based on the research I've done, Norwin has one of the lowest cost per student in Westmoreland County, the state of Pennsylvania, and is at the median for the entire country. And even with that cost per student, the schools are continually recognized at both the state and national performance rankings. That's undisputed evidence that this district is providing excellent return on the taxpayers' investment. Norwin High School was ranked in the nation's one of the nation's best, according to the U.S. News and World Report, best high school rankings for 2022. The school district ranks 31 out of 707 school districts in performance in Pennsylvania, among the top 20% of public school districts in Pennsylvania.
Melissa,
And the,
I
yes.
hate to interrupt you, but do you have anything more concerning to the board and maybe the decision that we made? I mean, we could all probably look up stats on the school district, and I don't think anyone could argue we have a good school district, but is there anything pertaining towards the board that you want to get addressed?
Yes, I was going to talk about their cost per student. Their cost per student is $13,523, which is less than the state median in Pennsylvania, which is $17,771. And the recent high in Pennsylvania was $19,900. In comparison, the national average is $13,185 per pupil annually. And ours has been relatively flat over the last 10 years. And I have links so that you could look at that information. Our rank for equitable school district is 136 out of 499 districts in Pennsylvania. It has one of the lowest expenditures for public elementary and secondary schools in PA. And I have links to all of that data that I could provide. Another point is they said that Norwin doesn't cut back on anything and makes outlandish excuses for wants being needs. And that's not true. The school board passed a resolution in 2022 to limit the authority to increase real estate tax rate for the 2022-2023 school year. And they cut many programs and were prepared to cut more if the board did not vote to raise taxes. They considered eliminating full-day kindergarten. They considered eliminating 6 teaching positions. And they did eliminate an anti-bullying program and cutting additional teachers were all part of the discussions this year at the budget meetings.
I don't want to interrupt you again, but that's why I was trying to ask. Is there anything more relevant that you want to ask the board that we could get back to? You've been saying some facts about the school district, like I said. I can understand that you might disagree with the board's decision not to waive the fee, but is there anything else that you would like to state tonight that pertains to township?
So I just wanted to make another point about the school budget, because that was given as a reason for justification of not waiving the fee. And the school budget is audited by an outside auditor, and it was within 5% on an $80 million budget, or 0.5%. And you can watch the auditor's presentation at one of the school board meetings. The other thing I wanted to point out was, there's a policy for intergovernmental cooperation that specifically says that government organizations should work together to eliminate duplication of services. The township had given the crossing guards as the example. It wouldn't make sense for the township to pay for crossing guards and for the school district to pay for crossing guards. And I would think that the same thing would apply here when it comes to a roof inspection. It doesn't make sense for the township to have somebody that could complete a roof inspection and then them make the school district to go out to find an independent entity and have to get multiple bids for a roof inspection that's most likely going to cost more than what the township could do that inspection fee for. So you're basically passing on additional costs to the taxpayer because you're not willing to waive that fee.
Do you have anything else tonight, Melissa?
The other point is that you've waived that fee for other government, entities in the past, and you had a contract in place in the past to waive that fee for the school district that you chose to not honor whenever you voted to not waive the fee for the school district.
All right. Thank you. Is any other residents would like to speak tonight? Thank you. First residence, Mr. Morgan. If you could just state your name and address for the record, please.
Bob Morgan, 871 Northeast Drive, North Huntington. I'm just up here for a thank you. I want to thank you, Lindsay, for returning your phone call, Harry for returning, and Dan Miller for returning. And a big kudos to Rich and his township crew for what they did on my street. Awesome job, corrected that drain, and it's supposed to be milled and paved within the next couple weeks. So I just want to thank you all for everything you've done for us. Thank you.
Next residence, Miss Clark.
Oh, geez. Hi, everyone. A couple things I wanted to talk about tonight. First off, I want to thank Mr. Albert personally for what he did for my street on my mailbox. I really appreciate it. It took a lot of time, and I couldn't thank you enough. Second thing
Oh,
is...
sorry, could you just give me your name and
Oh, I'm
address real
sorry.
quick?
Lynn
Yeah.
Clark, 11479 Drop Road, North Huntington, PA 15642. The second thing I'd like to address is McKee Road. We are now coming into school time, and as a grandparent who stands at the corner and gets kids on buses and tries to cross down by Lions Park, I don't think you realize how bad it is. People come around that bend and they are hauling it, is the best way to put it. We need to do something. I take my youngest granddaughter down to Lions Park in her stroller, and where they put, the last commissioner put down the markings on the road, you can't see people coming from the left up over a little bit of an embankment. And most recently, I was given a few gestures and a few words because I was attempting to go through the crosswalk where it has a sign that has people walking. And I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to be rude, but we need to do something. We need to do better on McKee Road, especially with the school buses. I get passed on McKee Road for following the speed limit. Buses, school buses get passed when they're loading kids. Somebody is going to get hurt. And I think we really, as a township, need to do better in that department. I don't want to stand on there. And it's frightening to me. We all have to stand really far back on our road at South Whitmore. So I would hope that somebody would look at something and do something about that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the school district, and I'm a retired teacher, but right now I'm teaching free classes for senior citizens, water aerobics. I absolutely love it. It's at no cost to senior citizens. It was advertised in the in Norwin magazine. And there's a couple other things. We have iPhone classes for senior citizens, iPhone intermediate for senior citizens, iPads for senior citizens, digital communication, technology scams, word processing, and water aerobics. And I think I was taken back by, and I could keep going on and on like Melissa Carabin did, but I think we really need to look at everything the school district does for our senior citizens and for the community, Easter egg hunts and homecoming carnivals and different things like that. And I would really ask that you look at all that when you make your final decision on the building or the roofing permit fee. Okay? Thank you so much.
One last resident, Ron, if you want to come up and say your name and address for the record.
Rick Keenan, 700 Legger Road. I saw something on the agenda that I'd like to have a little bit open once we find out what's said. Item number 6 is action to approve the addendum to contract with Waste Management for residential solid waste recycling to modify the senior bag program. I am involved in the senior bag program, and I want to tell you something. This new system they got does not work. And I know there's an individual here that's patting himself on the back for setting it up, that he did such a fine job. We had to make some phone calls to Waste Management. They were saying about putting it out in a bag, and Where I live on Legger Road, there's a lot of animals, raccoons, stuff like that, which the bag would not work. It would be scattered all over. It has been in the past. My wife called, and the waste management girl said, paint a number on your garbage can and put it in the can because of the situation. I said that here at a meeting one time, and it was completely ignored. Now, I tried your system twice, 2 failures. I put out my recycling bin. The first time, it was clear down the street about 300 feet on the other side. The second time I put it out, it was half full on the other side of the street and glass all over the street and everything. I had more work to do than Waste Management did. So I now take my scraps, my steel cans to the scrap yard, my aluminum cans I take to the scrap yard, and so on. So they're saying that they're going to modify this. I hope it's for the better, because this system is a complete farce. Thank you.
Thanks. Response to citizens' input. First resident was Melissa. Seemed like she was upset with the board's decision not to waive the building permit policy for roofing for the school district.
I would like to respond to that if possible. Whenever we have building permit fees, we have to train our employees, we have to pay engineers, that sort of thing, to do those commercial inspections. Those don't happen for free, the paperwork doesn't happen for free. And the school district at one time sued the township over the crossing guards. And of course, North Huntington had to start to pick up the cost of the crossing guards, which is $22,000, at least it was the last budget this season. I don't know what it is this year. But anyways, in return, the township was to get, the citizens of the township were to get use of the pool, they were to get adult continuing education, there was supposed to be recreation, and during the COVID period, none of that occurred. And tonight I'm hearing for the first time that there is some free classes. The only classes that I had heard about were classes at a cost of $10 a person. And there was to be scuba diving classes that were close to $300 a person. So we're not getting in return the cost for paying for the school crossing guards. We're not getting that reciprocal to us. And so the amount of the permit fee, in my mind, equaled that out. It had nothing to do with, the quality of the school district. We have a good quality school district. But the township has expenses. And I believe the only other time that it went to be waived was for a fire department, and that was not picked up. Mr. Falk, you could clarify that situation with the fire department in the last 5 years.
Any other board response?
I have 3 things that I said at the previous meeting when we denied it, and I believe that was the final decision.
Correct.
Right? It's not like it's still up for a vote. I think the only thing I really said about the school district was that they have no line item budget, which I find problematic. Nobody questioned their integrity as far as an audit or anything of that nature. The second reason, or the second thing I spoke about, was that Rich Albert had come in to our previous meeting talking about the cost of a street sweeper that we were buying new. That was over 300,000, is that right?
Not quite 300,000.
Somewhere in that area. And we have bills to pay too. And the third reason, and one of the more important reasons that I voted the way I did, was because of the resident outcry from people who were not associated with the school district, were not employees, were not teachers, anything of that nature. They were just regular taxpayers. And I heard from them after the meeting when we talked about waiving it. So I did what I believed my residents wanted me to do. Thank you.
I'm going to have to second what Rich Gray said. You know, I too heard from residents, and they were upset about this. North Huntington Township has a budget of, would somebody please give me the number? $14,500,000. For how many folks? 31,000 constituents. A budget of $14.5 million for 31,000 constituents. Norman School District, according to Melissa, has a budget of $80 million, not for 31,000 constituents. Nobody's going to sit here and argue the merits of the school district. They will not. School district is a fine district with fine students and fine teachers, and I don't mean to use the word fine and diminish anybody, so I don't want to hear somebody tell me fine's not a good enough word. It's a fine word. That's why I'm using it. But you can see the numbers. It just doesn't add up. And when you start doing for one, you have to start doing for others. And my constituents called me and complained about, you're opening up a can of worms. I have to listen to my constituents. They elected me, and I'm standing on what they said. Thank you.
Any other board input on Melissa's? I just have one thing. I originally was in favor, I think, when we first discussed waiving the fee. And then I think after some other board comments, and like Rich said, a few citizens did reach out to me. And the one thing that some of the other commissioners didn't mention too, not one person from the school board or the school district came to speak. It was just a letter sent to us. Not one person came here in public and asked for the waiving of the fee. So if it was important to the school district, I would think they would at least send some representative to come here and request it. And then Ms. Clark, I think, oh, sorry, go ahead, Lindsay.
Just to chime in on that, I was the only one that voted to waive the permit, and I still stand behind my vote. I think that it is important, although these were all very good points, I think that it's very important that we try to keep our personal feelings out of it, and not play political sides. I feel like I think a lot of things that came up during our multiple conversations was like everything that we didn't like that the board was doing, or this or that and the third. And I just think that it's important that we stay in our lane and they stay in theirs, and that we do try to work together, because it is all of our taxpayer money going to the school district or the township. And if we can help them out now, I mean, although the vote was already voted on or whatever, but if we could help them out in a situation like that, maybe they could return the favor in the future. And I just don't think that we need to be going back and forth with what you did for me versus what I did for you. And I just think that we need to just move forward and try to do what's best for everybody. And not one person has said that they got a phone call in support of the roof being waived, but I did, and I find that that's odd that nobody got anybody that reached out to them that was in support of the waiver. But I did. I don't know. I just find it odd. So I stand behind my vote, and I hope in the future we can work together and alongside each other and not against each other.
Respectfully, to respond to that, I did get calls on both sides, and I think both of these gentlemen both said the majority of the calls you got were Oh.
All of mine.
Well, I got some on both sides. The majority were that they were approved of our decision, number one. Number two, I don't think this is political at all. It's not for me, and I mean, I don't feel that that's correct. The big thing I look at is, and I said it last time, they fail to provide a line item budget, as Rich said. What organization in today's world operates that way? And when the school board asked for a line item budget, they were basically laughed out of the room. I will consider changing a vote on that if I can see what the school district is spending their money on. Right now, we can't see that. And that's a problem to me. That's why I voted no. That's not political to me one bit. If I can see what they're spending money on, I would be more than happy to vote yes for the waiver.
I figured I'll just offer my input too. My decision was based on one thing and one thing only, the cost of the fee divided by the tax base. There was it cost less per taxpayer to spread it among the school district tax base than it does to spread it around the township tax base. So it was to save money for everybody. That was my sole reasoning.
Thanks. I believe the next resident was Ms. Clark. Chief, could you maybe see if you could maybe send some patrols down there or some speed signs? Yeah. Okay.
So I'm gonna reach out to her. I wanted to see what the actual issue is.
Yeah.
So you mentioned crosswalks, not being able to see. I'm gonna send one of my traffic officers down there to kind of maybe reach out to you. You can meet with them, show them the concerns and see if we need to paint additional, crosswalks, signage, if there's something more that we can do.
We need to.
Okay, yeah, I'll,
Oh, that would be awesome.
yeah, we'll reach out to you and I'll have one of them,
There-
I'll have one of them reach out to you.
I can tell you there's adequate sight distance there, because that was checked. In
Okay.
fact, it was placed where it was because you had even more sight distance. And there were some issues with the pines and a water line on the other side, and shading, which would take longer to thaw. There was a bunch of reasons why it was put on that side, but sight distance was improved, but there was adequate sight distance. But, as you know, when people speed, it changes the formula a little bit, reaction time and everything, so.
Somebody came up to Ron and I about a month ago and actually complained about McKee. And we were going to bring it up, but, so it's just ironic. Their concern is trying to cross the road, school buses, speeding's out of control, and they don't even feel comfortable walking to the park, so. And that's just another concerned citizen that approached him and I when we were out, so. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other response for Ms. Clark?
If I may. Number one, thank you so much for bringing this forward. And you're absolutely right. Why should we have to wait until something bad happens? I'm going to tell you, it's going to ruin somebody's family for the rest of their life. Folks, I'm going to ask you out there in TV land, please, for God's sake, slow it down. Slow it down. We've got problems on Ward 7. Every ward has a speeding problem, and I don't know what the hurry is, and I'm just asking and pleading with people, folks, please, if it says 25, you do 25. Slow down before you really wind up ruining and destroying a family's life. And you're going to destroy your own life too, because it'll be some sort of judgment against an individual. Isn't there such a thing as involuntary manslaughter, Chief?
Well, the
Vehicular. And to carry that with the rest of your life. I guarantee you there's not one person in this community that wants to have that over their head for the rest of their lives. Slow it down. Thank you.
Thanks. And then, Rick, you mentioned about the trash update to the contract. We'll talk about that later because it's on the agenda, but basically residents will be able to up their contract instead of putting a bag program. They'll be able to get a 32 gallon waste container, just like the smaller recycling container. And there is an upcharge of that. I believe it's closer to $10, but we can discuss that later. It's on the agenda.
So the way I feel about it is I'm taking care of my own. I'd like to be opted out of the program. Why should I have to pay for a service that not only is it worse, I had to go clean all the glass up. It was all over the road and everything in front. And since they opened that bridge up down there, I want to tell you something, like they're talking about speed. You ought to try to get the mail out of my mailbox. I'm gonna buy one with a door on the back side because of it. And why should I have to go out there and clean that stuff up? The container was still half full laying across the street, and glass all over the street, and the plastic bottles and cans and everything. I had to go out and clean it up. Now, why should I pay them to do it when I have to do it?
Zach, excuse me, there's two, you gotta talk about it later, but there's two
Yeah.
items here. One is the automated collection, and the other complaint was the senior bag program. So when the automated collection, occasionally bags get packed in there, and if they're not careful, they get stuck, they get put down. They have to, so you have to report, this has to be reported to them so the driver knows to be more careful. And they have to replace them where they pick them up. So if they don't, we want to know that.
Okay.
So they'll be told to do that. So that part of it should be correctable. Okay, and if you want to wait till the rest
Yeah.
of the bag program is, we're, okay.
Right. Thank you, Assistant Manager Turley. Anything else from the board on responses to citizen input?
Can I ask
Yeah.
you a question?
Mr. Keenan, when you say that you had your recyclable can out and it ended up across the road or upside down, how did that happen? Are you saying after the truck emptied it?
The first time, it was, I had this at the end of the driveway, the way it's supposed to be and everything. When I'm looking
Mr.
for the
Keenan, can you please come up
container,
for
it was
the-
down the street on the ditch.
Mr. Keenan, can you please come up to the microphone so we can hear? Thank you.
The first time was, they did empty it, but the container was way down the street. I'm saying probably 400 feet from where they picked it up on the other side of the street. Well, if you know Lager Road, how it is, the road's narrow and the vehicles whizzing through there, it's just a matter of time till it gets run over. I went out, got it, brought it back, tried another time, and there was no bags in it. The stuff was in there loose. When I went out to get the container, it was across the street and down, half full, and the other half was spread all over the street, mostly, and I had to pick a lot of the bottles were broken and so on. Now, anybody that wants to know, you can get down there next to Kevin Hunter's. They got a big container. They'll take all the glass you want to take down. That's where I'm taking mine now. But what I'm saying, with the service that I had, why should I have to pay for that? I didn't charge them to go pick it up. And it was done with they flipped the thing over evidently. Now, what the reason is, I don't know, but I've had other people tell me the same thing, that this automated service thing they got, there's stuff flying through the air all over. And there's a lot, after they pick it up, there's a lot of my neighbor's stuff blows down by me, so evidently somebody's doing something wrong.
Okay, thanks. I was just confused at how your can, when you said it was across the street. Thanks. You explained it well. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Any other responses to this input? All right, if not, I did have one resident send in a letter to me. I don't know if the rest of the board received it. Jane Brosnick lives on Roth Drive. She had some concerns with the neighbor on Roth Drive, that with the chicken that we approved, the Board of Commissioners approved. She's a little upset. She said that she has some odor from the neighboring property that has chickens, and stating that it's eyesore, and that she is very upset with the commissioners that approved the chicken keeping in the backyard on Roth Drive.
Have we sent anybody out to look?
No, I just received this a day or two ago, and I'll give this to Manager Falk, and he can maybe copy it and share it with the board. Like I said, I don't know if the rest of the board received it or it was just myself.
No, I did not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Would we be able to have code enforcement?
Absolutely.
Take a visit? Okay. Thank you.
All right. Approval meetings minutes for the special meeting 7/14/22.
Motion to approve the special meeting?
Second, please.
Discussion. All those in favor by state and aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. For the regular meeting 7/20/22.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Discussion.
I have one change to the minutes. Under the Township Manager's Report, item number 3, there was a motion by Commissioner Stump, seconded by, I believe, Commissioner Zona, for the monthly, rent change, and we had tabled that. We did not approve it, but the minutes show that the motion was approved. It was tabled. So can we have that change, please?
We'll have that changed. With that change, Ron, are you still okay with your motion to approve? Or was it?
Yes,
Eric?
motion to approve as changed.
Second. Nice
Any
catch.
further discussion? All those in favor by state and aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Payment of bills.
Motion to pay voucher 15165 through voucher 15242.
Second.
Discussion.
I just would like to mention that voucher number 15227, it was for air conditioning not working properly. The amount is $1,544. I've asked Manager Falk to check on that because that involves our new system.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Have a motion and second. All those in favor by stating saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Staff reports, Public Works report, Director Albert. Anything to add to your report tonight, sir?
I have nothing more to add, thank you.
Great. Any questions for Public Works? Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Question, Rich, did Bob have any input as far as Lynch Drive?
Lynch Drive, he and I went out there and did an inspection. I went over everything with him. I thought that maybe he'd come up with a report to send you. I'll
Okay.
talk to him, discuss it with him
That's
tomorrow and you know,
Thank
get
you.
something in writing to you. But basically, it comes down to what Harry, you and I had discussed earlier on a method to control the water.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to follow up with the complainant.
Sure, I understand that.
Thank you.
And one other thing I may add, if I could, please. Our paving program for this year's getting ready to start any time now. You know, we'll have the list of streets and the order, the schedule as far as streets go. Bob has all the limits all marked out for the milling. I anticipate them coming in tomorrow or Friday, any day now. Everything's all one called and ready to go. So we'll be starting that here shortly, and we'll certainly be glad to have that out of our way for this year. But there's plenty of time to be able to accomplish what we need to do, so everything's status quo. We're good for this year.
If nothing else, thank you, Director Albert.
Sure.
Park and Recreation report. I don't see Dan here tonight. Is there anything to get back to Director Miller?
I just have a question. I'm not sure. Maybe Director Elbert or manager can answer. Do you know how many high grass accounts we have? Director Miller mentions that takes up a lot of time of mowing the high grass accounts in the township. Does anyone know how many we have by chance?
I don't know
Okay.
offhand. Maybe Ryan
Yeah,
may.
I can estimate probably between 2 and 3 dozen. It depends on the year, it depends on how many bank-owned properties we have. There's some vacant houses. But yeah, every time that we site one of them and then lien the property, that's when the Parks Department comes in and cuts.
Okay, I was just curious.
I can get
Number.
you a
Thanks.
firm number
That's
on
good,
that
yeah.
for this summer
Okay.
or this year.
Thanks.
Any other questions on Park and Recreation? Emergency Management Report. Any questions to get back to Coordinator Mahinsky? If not, Police Report. Chief Rizzo?
I have nothing to add on the formal report, but I do have something to say. If anybody has any questions on the report, I can answer them. I did want to reach out to the citizens after our critical incident that occurred in the Camelot area. We had citizens out there helping, opening up their houses to all the officers that were there to go to the bathroom, to use it for breaks. We had people bringing food in later on that evening for the officers that were logging mega hours that day, and I just want to say thank you for the support from the community that day. It was overwhelming, especially late in the evening. A young mother and her daughter brought pizzas up and walked them into the station, for everybody to eat. It was way later in the evening that night, which was very nice. And I did want to commend the officers. Many of you are all aware. I'm not going to talk about the case because it's still being prosecuted. However, I couldn't be more proud of the officers, the bravery that they displayed that day, the professionalism, the evacuation of the residents, the seamless transition work with the Pennsylvania State Police and their CERT team. It was a very well run operation from beginning to end. The officers were extraordinary, and I just wanted to make that public and just so that you're all aware of that.
Thanks, Chief.
Chief, if I may, the incident happened in my neighborhood, literally 2 blocks away. And I know that understanding the danger that was there, but I never felt unsafe in my home, knowing everybody was out there. It was just incredible to see, the training, the resources, everything that you guys have logged, never knowing if you would ever need it. And then to come out and see just how efficient and how great it was, and nobody got hurt.
Yeah.
And that just, I think about how it could have gone, and I just want to thank you, thank your officers,
Yes.
the first responders, the fire departments, EMS, anybody, everybody, dispatchers. There was mobile dispatch on scene. I mean, that was incredible. It was humbling to know that all these people came to show up to help us. And
It was truly a
thank you
collective effort.
from me, my family, my community, my little neighborhood.
We appreciate it, but Road Department came out and assisted. Manager Falk was there the entire time. Dispatchers that just came into work and took over phones. It was a giant collaborative municipal effort on our part, and it was very much appreciated. I know it was after hours, and Rich had turned some guys around. We needed assistance in Camelot with roads and things, and they came right back out and started setting up barricades and assistant officers on the back end of everything. So, yeah, I appreciate all the help we got that day. So thank you all.
Thanks. Engineer report. Anything on the engineer's report? Right. Planning and zoning report. Director Fonzie. Any questions on the fire officials report? Subdivision land development. Director Fonzie.
Yes, there are 3 items set for your approval tonight. The first is Subdivision 14 of 2022, the Solava Plan Number 1, requesting board action to approve this subdivision to create a new lot for a billboard.
Action to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor by state and aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, item number 2 is Subdivision 15 of 2022, the Legends Phase 3 Revision Number 4, requesting board action to approve this consolidation in the Legends Plan.
Motion to approve. Second.
Discussion.
I do have a question. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that Legends 3 plan has some outstanding requirements Does any of that affect these roadways, outstanding like stormwater requirements or something? I believe they showed up on the other report.
That is a request for dedication by the developer. So Bob Robinson went out and inspected. He's been working with a developer, kind of converting the stormwater pond. This subdivision is completely separate from that.
Okay, so they're not related in any way? I
No.
just want to double check.
No,
Thank
they're
you.
just joining two lots together.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, and last item is subdivision 16 of 2022, the Willow Estates Phase 1 revision number 5, requesting board action to approve lot consolidation and boundary line revision on Yorkshire Drive.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Fonzie. Solicitor's report. Solicitor Alexander.
Thank you. There's one action item on the solicitor's report for this month. It is action to adopt proposed ordinance number 5 of 2022 of the Township of North Huntington, Westmoreland County, accepting the dedication to public use of certain roads known as Augusta Circle and Elliott Lane in the Legends Phase 3.
Motion to approve proposed ordinance number 5 of 2022.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
That concludes the solicitor's report.
Thank you. Township Manager's report. Manager Falk.
Item number 1, action to approve the July check register.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
Item number 2, budget report, July 2022. Any questions? Moving on to item number 3, action to approve resolution number 126 of 2022, authorizing the execution of an agreement with Environmental Planning and Design to develop the 2023 comprehensive plan in the amount of $59,710, and authorize the township manager to sign all needed documents.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
I tell you what, guys, I am dead set against this. Number one, I realize that 50% of this hopefully is gonna be paid by somebody else, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I am correct. So let's just make it $60,000. We're saying township's definitely gonna be on the lam for 60,000, but we're gonna get reimbursed for the 50%, which would be 30,000. But we're not sure we are gonna get that reimbursement. Am I correct? I am correct. That's a lot of taxpayers' money for a township that already has a lot of development in it, and I don't see that we can develop much more. I really don't. I don't think we need an outside agency to tell us in our community what we need when we, the 7, and our 31,000 constituents who are just a phone call away, a text or an email from us, could tell us better than an outside organization that possibly is going to get $60,000 of our taxpayers' money. I have to be honest with you, I'm against this completely. Thank you.
Any other board discussion?
Manager Falk, can you tell us how old that existing comprehensive plan is?
The current plan was approved in 2000, and has to be updated by state code every 10 years.
So basically, the comprehensive plan, the purpose of that is that the Board of Commissioners is to make its decisions based on that plan. And that's the desire of the citizens. I felt that possibly we could do this in-house, but the presentation that was given the other day, I thought it was a good presentation, and I would be in favor of this.
Have we Tried to get more quotes other than those three. I know that this one was the lowest, and I think that we do need a comprehensive plan and somebody managing that. I just don't know if we need to be spending 60,000 on that.
Right, when I did the proposal, we sent it to, I think, about 3 or 4 different agencies. We also publicized it, and out of the one agency we did not hear back from, but it was advertised.
Manager Falk, if you could tell us what the highest bid was on that as well.
I think the highest bid, I believe, was 97,000.
So I think the bid that we got was a very reasonable bid for knowing what generally people charge for those.
Yeah, and I'd agree. I mean, we're required to do this, and when we send it out and advertise it, we can't control who responds to it and who wants to do this job. So I think we're left with what we had, and we have a decision to make on the 3.
Has anybody, I know when they presented, they talked about the Sharpsburg, Etna, Millville area. I believe those were the 3 communities. I have an office in Aspinwall, and I am very familiar with how that whole area is being transformed. Has anybody approached maybe Irwin and North Irwin about splitting the cost, or maybe a group effort that, I mean, we surround both of the boroughs. Maybe we could do something to help bring some community growth rather than just individual. I mean, not saying, it's all 3 of us, but, a section where maybe they can have a smaller one, benefit them, benefit us, benefit everybody, split the cost.
Yeah, if the board wants to, they can make a motion to direct me to talk to them, to see if they're interested. The grant application is open to that, so you can apply if Irwin and North Irwin want to be a part of that regional comprehensive plan.
I mean, I would be comfortable with that. I know some years back, the board tried to brand North Huntington to be, I don't want to say separate, but to actually have its own identity. And I think we would kind of get lost if we would try to lump back in with Irwin and North Irwin. That's when we rebranded with the logoing and things of that nature. I mean, I definitely think as part of our comp plan, I think there could be a part in there that we could reach out to Irwin and North Irwin to be a part of some discussions with our comp plan, but I wouldn't be in favor of doing one general comp plan with the other 2 boroughs. Just like I said, by going back when we were trying to brand North Huntington, and I'm not saying to set ourselves apart, but to actually brand the township as its own versus, as someone might say, the Norwin area.
So I didn't know what anyone else thought of it. I mean, I've seen what they're doing there, and it's tremendous. And, I always want more for us than other people have, so, I'm okay either way, one way or the other. I just thought it was an idea.
And then as far as a comp plan goes, I understand people saying, well, we should do it in-house. I think if we wouldn't be able to do it in-house with our current staffing levels. We would pull our staff in too many directions, and their work that they are currently doing wouldn't be able to get done on top of this. That's why obviously we'd hire an outside agency to help us with the project. Any other discussion?
I think nobody has a greater input in our community than our citizens. So what if we were to create a subcommittee of citizens, just a handful of people that would be interested, of our 31,000 that might want to head this up? Again, I'm a big fan of fiscal responsibility, and I am not saying, please understand, we are not being irresponsible, and I understand where this is. Ron brought up a really good word, and he said required. So allow me some lateral. Who's requiring this, that it's a requirement? Is it a state thing?
State requirement.
Yet, so the states can sit on their high horse and advise us, well, you know what, guys? You're too much of a wealthy township. You're not going to get our 50%. You're going to have to fork this over all by yourself. I don't like that. I know our citizens work hard to keep their money, and the way that things are going in this world, I just feel that right now, man, I think people want to hold on to their money so they know that they can pay their bills and feed their children. And
Eric, do you have an alternative idea as to
Yeah.
having this done?
I do. It was the citizens. That's why I asked for a little bit of lateral.
So, I mean, the next item
Yeah.
is the steering committee. So
That
that's-
is the citizens,
Yeah,
yeah.
the citizens will be involved in the comp plan.
That was discussed last week by that woman, and
Yes.
it's two motions away. There's a whole committee with citizens on it.
Right. I'm turning red
Before
up
you
here.
waste your
I'm
time.
embarrassed. Yeah, I got egg on my face. Jason, thank you. Sorry about that, folks. Sorry that I put you through that, but thanks for bringing that up. Thanks, man.
Would we be able to make like a survey available, maybe for
sure
them to do
the-
online, or like scan a
That's going
QR
to be part
code?
of the comp plan, and with
Okay.
the service will have.
And
the
then that
community
way,
outreach.
Eric, we could get a lot of feedback that way too, once that gets rolling.
They'll actually be at our events
Yeah.
coming up.
So. All right. I have a motion and second. All those in favor by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Action to approve resolution number 127 of 2022, authorizing an application to the Pennsylvania Municipal Assistance Program for the 2023 Comprehensive Plan Project, and authorize the township manager to sign all needed documents.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Would somebody, before we agree to this, would somebody please just give us the citizens a brief overall statement as to what that means to them? Whether I'm missing a point or not, maybe I am. I didn't take my Flintstone vitamins today, so I'm hurting. By the way, those things taste terrible. I tried
Sure,
one.
so after this is authorized, I'm going to submit an application to the DCED on behalf of the municipality to apply for 50% of the funding. Part of that application will have the comprehensive plan. I'm going to reach out for letters of support to our state representative, or two state representatives and state senator. And the gentleman down at the DCED office is awaiting our application.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Have a motion and a second. All those in favor by stating aye.
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 Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
Action to advertise and accept letters of interest to serve on the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee.
Motion to approve.
Discussion. All in favor by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
Action to approve the addendum to the contract with Waste Management for residential solid waste and recycling to modify the senior bag program.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, can we let Rick know that a gentleman was here last week? Rick, you weren't here last week, and there was a gentleman from Waste Management came and spoke to us about concern with the bags that were, the wild animals were getting into. And so,
Wait.
My wife called down there,
Excuse me, Rick.
and
Manager Falk's going to explain the new proposal, and then.
well, as far as like what Eric said, my wife called Waste Management
Yeah.
over the deal, and they were told to paint your number on the can and put your can out with the bag in it. I said something up here, and that
Yeah.
at the time, and it was completely overrun, and they had the bags and the garbage bins and everything out here in the
Yeah,
foyer.
we went in discussion with Waste Management, so that's why we're going to vote on this proposal tonight, and Manager Falk could give you a brief description. But basically, the rundown is residents that have the bag program could pay additional monies. I believe it's about
Seven, yeah.
no, it was $2.50.
So it's about $2.50 more a month, and you can get a 32-gallon
Right.
size container, which is the size of the senior recycling container, and then you'll be able to put your rubbish or trash in that container, and you'll actually probably be able to fit more than one 55-gallon bag in that container, and that way any type of residents or pests or animals won't get into your container. It'll be protected.
Well, this is a little bit beside the point that I have, but why would I want to pay $2.50 more to go out and pick the garbage up that's on the street that they dumped and left there?
Well,
But
if you're
I-
having an
the
issue with
service
that,
that
like
we have-
Assistant Manager Turley said, if you have an issue where your container is not being emptied correctly, or it's not being put down correctly, that's something we got to reach out to Waste Management and put a ticket in with them to see if they can follow up. Maybe there's something at your location where they're having trouble, or they need to get that addressed, so we can do that as well.
Well, I went to Waste Management and I made a phone call over it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, sorry about that, was
Okay.
basically what I got. And I live 7 doors from the facility.
Yeah.
And it's, there's a problem, like I say, with it. And I've talked to other people, they're having the same problem with the dumping the things, and it's not being done right.
Well, that's something we'll have to reach out to them and try to work through the issues with them and get them addressed.
I just as soon completely opt out of the system myself. I can handle it, but if I'm gonna have to clean it up, why should I pay and have to do it myself anyway? I think that's foolish.
Thank you, sir. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0. Thank you, Manager Falk and Assistant Manager Turley, for getting that done. I appreciate it.
Action to appoint Bob Morgan and Dan Kornack to the Recreation Advisory Board with terms ending December 31st, 2027 and December 31st, 2022 respectively.
You said 2027?
Yeah.
Correct, that was a typo.
Typo.
Okay, all right.
Motion to approve.
I want to second that to appoint Bob Morgan and Dan Kornack.
Sorry, I thought you were done.
That's okay.
Give her the motion, I'll take the second.
Lindsay made the motion. I guess Jason made the second. Any other discussion? And there's, like I said, December 31st, 27, and then the second one's December 31st, 22. Any other discussion? All those in favor by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0.
Action to advertise and accept letters of interest to serve on the Code Hearing Board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0.
Action to terminate services with Remington and Vernick Engineers serving as the consulting engineer effective September 1st, 2022.
Motion to,
Motion to approve?
second?
Discussion? All those in favor by stating aye. Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0.
Action to award the McCannon Storm Sewer Improvements to JP Operations Incorporated in the amount of $258,320.
Motion to approve. Second.
Discussion?
I would like to discuss this. According to the January 2022 Pennsylvania bidding thresholds, let me say that, let me go back. Before I say that, let me just say that JP Operations, Inc. does an outstanding job and quality work everywhere they've been. I applaud them and their work. Now, I digress. January 2022 Pennsylvania bidding thresholds. Bids are not to exceed $25,000. This is a huge bill of $258,000. Now, according to the PA bidding thresholds, we're allowed to award below $11,800. Okay? Over $11,800 to $21,900, we have to go out and go get 3 quotes. Anything over $21,900 requires a sealed bid.
We did that, and it was opened up in an advertised public hearing.
Where was I?
I don't know, the engineer handles all that.
Wow. I'm
We-
sorry.
That's okay.
Maybe it's just a good educational point for folks, but my apologies yet again. Sorry. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Motion is second. All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0. Thank you, Manager Falk. Any further board comments tonight?
I will just make one comment, and it's just an old comment that I've made before, and I would just ask again, I'd once again ask our tax collector here to come in and open her office window up. And I know she is servicing people if they know to knock on the window when they walk back there. But why make somebody walk back and knock at a window? And when they look at the window, it appears that no one's there, so why make them knock at the window? I'm just going to ask her again to please get in here and have that window open so people know they are open for business. Thank you.
I have one item. A few weeks ago, we lost Mike Facenda, was a commissioner, was on the, I was escaping the NHTMA, I believe.
No, Western
Western
Westmoreland.
Westmoreland, that's it, I'm sorry. He was a great asset to our community. He will be missed. I just wanted to take a moment and recognize him.
And I just wanted to make sure that if someone still wants to use that bag program, that $5 bag program, they can still put the bag out for $5, correct?
Yeah, that hasn't, the bag
That
program
hasn't
hasn't changed for years and years. You put the bag out, it's just to deal with, for some reason, there's an uptick in this, but that program hasn't changed. It's always been put a bag out, so, because it's a real discounted cut rate, so it's one bag only. If you can't meet that, you go to the discounted senior service. So this is just really another option outside of that.
I just wanted to make sure the citizens knew that.
And I'm glad to say that a dangerous tree that was on Stewartsville Elementary property that hung over Ward Drive, like, man, that tree was scary. That has been resolved. I'm glad to say myself and Township Manager Harry and the Norman School District Superintendent, Dr. Taylor, we came together on a concerted effort. He got a contract. We had to first off know who had the property and who had the responsibility. And the responsibility ran onto the school board, or the school. It is their property, ergo it is their tree. And the three of us worked diligently together and kept each other informed, and I'm glad to say that that tree no longer is a hindrance or a danger to the public. Thank you.
Thanks. No other board discussion, I just need a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Meeting adjourned at 8:07. Executive session to follow, talk about personnel matters.